What is going on, snipers? Roger Ver and his outproportioned theories. Why don't we just go ahead and ask the question? Leave it in the comments below. Will Ethereum overtake Bitcoin by the end of 2018? That's what Roger Ver is saying. We're going to be talking about that along with other fundamental news in the market. Alongside with Bitcoin's technical analysis, I wanted to start with a fresh chart for you all. We're going to go ahead and insert a couple indicators here, including the Bollinger Bands, MACD, Moving Average Exponential, the RSI, and the 3 moving averages to talk about what's happening here with Bitcoin's price level. You can see, if we are to zoom in here, you can see we've went ahead and dropped all the way below this Bollinger Band, disrespecting the support level of that Bollinger Band. But if we were to look at this 3 moving average indicator here, we'll go ahead and make this a little bit more bold so you can have an idea of what we're seeing here. If we were to actually focus in on the 50-day moving average, you can see we've went ahead and bypassed all of these moving averages on the 1-day chart. And what does that mean for Bitcoin? Well, right now, the next known support level is really going down all the way down here to around 7,800. And the question is whether or not we're going to go down to these levels. Understand, what we're seeing right now is market manipulation. We're seeing whales taking advantage of the new traders in this market. What does that mean? Well, when the whales understand the fact that new traders are a little bit more irresponsible with their funds and not necessarily as knowledgeable as the experienced traders, they're going to take advantage of these traders, right? When people are exuberant and optimistic about this market, they're going to want to short Bitcoin and bring it down so that people can worry and have this fear, uncertainty, and doubt within themselves so they can go ahead and make more and more profits off of these inexperienced traders. Unlike the stock market where you've got tons of experienced traders trading, and for the majority of it, it's all algorithmic, and that's not really the case right now in this market. So looking at this graph, one thing you do want to look at here is this RSI. You can see we are bouncing off of this 40 level here. We're not necessarily breaching the 40 RSI just yet, which is a very good sign for Bitcoin, knowing that we're finding a little bit of some sideways action here with the RSI right along 40. That's actually very positive in my opinion. And most importantly, I think what we want to watch here is this MACD level. We want to really draw out this ascending support level here forming with these MACD fast length and slow lengths here. Primarily the fast length is what you want to watch, which is the blue here. You can see how we're most likely going to come down. I'm expecting us to find some support right along this ascending support line, and I think that would be the most bullish case for Bitcoin, because this would mean that the whales, yes, they've manipulated the price, but they're just not enough to take it down all the way. So a couple of headlines in the market. Let's go ahead and talk about several different headlines. I want to address some of these headlines here first and foremost. Bitcoin price dips following the MTGOX sell-off and raiding of largest Korean exchange. If you don't know, Upbit, which is one of the largest Korean exchanges, was recently raided. However, it was all FUD according to this tweet you see here by Ran Neuner, who is the CNBC crypto trader host. If you don't know, he's the founder of On-Chain Capital, pretty prominent figure in the market, saying here the irregularity being investigated is in regards to liquidity issues, but at the end of the day, my source claims there's no issue. So is that FUD, right? Is this an opportunity for us to get lower prices in the market? I think so. I do expect Bitcoin to surpass 10,000 US dollars over the next couple of months, and if not over the next couple of weeks, following this short-term downfall. I don't think this is that big of a deal. I think this is an opportunity for those of you that have been looking to get your positions into these altcoins, and especially Bitcoin. If we were to look at some of these altcoins, we talked about some of them yesterday, but the 3 that I'm still watching include Wanchain, Nano, and Steam. These are the 3 altcoins that I think have been completely oversold. Over 30% oversold here with Steam and Nano over the past 7 days, and then Wanchain 26% down. In comparison to the majority of these coins, which are just over 20%, I think these are 3 to watch over the next couple of weeks, especially having the intrinsic use case that they already have. So let's take some questions from our live audience. Who do we have on live tonight? We've got Bread Effley says, whoa, what are you doing up this late, Naeem? We've actually just come back from a large conference, so the schedule has been off. We're going to be going back to the normal schedule very soon. Vaclav says, good morning, afternoon. Good night, everyone. Brett McKelvey says, good morning from Colorado. Wow, why are you up, Brett? What is it, 1:53 a.m. out there? Man. Aviram is in the house. It says, what up, Naeem? Nana Rapuk says, hey, Naeem. Dragon on Crypto, BTC bouncing off the 50-day moving average. You know, I saw that. I don't know why this moving average is showing that it's below. If we were to actually pull up, let's go ahead and pull up the 50-day moving average here. I don't know why, because I did mention earlier that we were above it. Let's go to, oh, that was, so we were using the wrong moving average. That's what it was. So yes, so here is the right moving average here. So we're actually going to go ahead and make that a little bit bolder for you to see here so we can have an idea of what we're seeing here, because we are bouncing off of this average. Yes, right here. This is the 50-day moving average. So we're bouncing on top of that 50-day moving average, which is very bullish, and that's a good sign for Bitcoin. And that's also the bottom of that Bollinger Band. So hopefully that's where we hold. If we breach that level, in my opinion, we will see some further downside down to around 7,800-ish. But if we don't breach this level, then this could be the spot where we start to bounce up. You can see with the RSI, we're starting to bounce right along that 40-ish area. So Aviram says, price getting juicy. Yes, it is. Mark de Rugitar says, hi, man. Mark says, keep up the good work. Thanks, Naeem. Thank you. Appreciate it. TRX still predicting breakout. John R. with the mainnet launch. I think you should have bought the hype and sell the news with that. Another article here that I do want to talk about, which is the title of this video, is Roger Ver expecting Ethereum to outperform Bitcoin by 2018, at least the latter part of 2018. You can see he says verbatim, I see it happening and I believe it's imminent. Ethereum could overtake Bitcoin by the end of the year, and Bitcoin Cash could do the same before 2020. I like how he threw in Bitcoin Cash, right? Because that's his project. That's what he's excited about. And in my opinion, Roger Ver, since Bitcoin Cash has really been off, you know, I mean, to be honest with you, yes, he contributed quite a lot in the early development stages of Bitcoin, but I think over time he's really kind of deflated his name by kind of dropping Bitcoin's reputation a little bit. Oh man, why is my green screen messed up? Oh, bam, there you go, fixed, just like that. But yeah, I think he kind of dropped his reputation a little bit by, you know, touting Bitcoin Cash as the replacement to Bitcoin, when Bitcoin is really what made him wealthy. What is this green screen doing? Oh my gosh, we got technical difficulties here at 2:56 a.m. I don't see why that would be a surprise, to be quite frank. So what do you guys think? I want to hear the community's discussion. In my opinion, I don't think that this is going to happen. I think that we'll definitely see EOS and Ethereum on the top of the leaderboards here in terms of coin market cap, because they are de-application platforms. Understand that we're seeing ICOs constantly being built on these platforms. Therefore, it naturally brings the value of these platforms up. And knowing EOS is completely different than Ethereum, it has 21 centralized nodes versus Ethereum where it's spread across all of their miners that are verifying transactions. I think that EOS could be number 3, Ethereum could be number 2, and then Bitcoin could stay number 1 as the storage of value in this market. That's just my personal opinion, but I'd love to hear your guys' opinion in the comments below. Check this article out. What is preventing mass adoption? This was actually an article titled Ripple Use as a Coin Will Be Key to XRP and Overall Crypto Adoption. But I liked what they said about what's preventing mass adoption. And it says here, we're still hung up on using cash, banks, checks, credit cards, and debit cards. And I find that interesting because when email was introduced and it became a threat to the US Postal Service or just the traditional mailing service in the world, I think that it was interesting because all the old timers were kind of like, oh, that's not going to do anything. But look what happened a decade later, where email has become way more prominent than traditional mail. And I think that this is just the start of cryptocurrency being adopted. If you look at this other article here talking about Australia actually banning cash purchases over $7,500. Why is that significant? Well, if they're banning cash purchases, that means they're optimistic about digital currency rather than traditional currencies, right? I think this is just one step forward towards the mass adoption of Bitcoin. Another article here, Bitcoin might never fall below 10,000 after May 2018, and it talks about this example of how the market has been manipulated by these whales. And this is a good example of such manipulation is the stock Momo. And it pretty much talks about how this stock had an amazing earnings call, and then price ended up dropping immediately after the earnings call. And it was proposed that it was because of the whales trying to short the stock, and then eventually buying back in, and then several weeks later it almost doubled. And they're expecting the same thing with Bitcoin, talking about how the mining difficulty being, so high right now, it just doesn't make sense for Bitcoin to go down further in value. So I want to hear you guys' opinion on that. Another article here, Facebook to compete with Ripple and cross-border payments. Why is that important? Well, look at this. A Facebook official disclosed they are very serious about it. Facebook will possibly need to make acquisitions in the blockchain and cryptocurrency space to develop its own virtual currency. Why is that a big deal? Well, Facebook has so much community consensus, so much community support already. Imagine if it were to introduce a cryptocurrency to the sphere. It's not going to be like the Verge and MindGeek partnership. This is going to be way more significant. I mean, understand, I think the last time I checked, Facebook had 1.2 billion active users. So imagine how much of an impact could be done if Facebook were to come up with their own cryptocurrency. So just to transition from there, I wanted to talk about the overall pattern forming here with Bitcoin. We're seeing a beautiful rounding bottom. And if you don't know what a rounding bottom is, I'm going to draw this out for you. You can see we've got this drop in price, a little bit of an uptick, and then this cup forming. And then you can see we're now forming this handle with the possible breakout coming from that 50-day moving average while we find support. If you don't know what a rounding bottom is, you can actually see here with the rounding bottom pattern, it is a breakout pattern. If you're on our Discord, once again, another free resource, link is in the description. But you can see how this breakout pattern forms itself. It is exactly what we're seeing here with Bitcoin on the one-day chart. So I am quite excited about dollar cost averaging my way into Bitcoin right now, knowing that I'm expecting levels to surpass 10,000 and beyond those levels in the next couple of weeks. So let's take some questions before we wrap this baby up. It's 3 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I don't want to take too much time here. Adam says drop down to the 1 hour. MKTT says, Naeem, we love you. We love you too, brother. Dave Hubner says, Naeem, what up, brother? Good to see you, Dave. Patrick says, I really appreciate your hard work, man. I'm thinking about moving from California to Puerto Rico for the lower taxes. Have you looked into moving to Puerto Rico? Absolutely, man. Acts 20 and Acts 22. I looked into the whole thing. It really cost you about $20,000 just to go there. And I was looking into it because it will help with a lot of the capital gains taxes that are incurred with cryptocurrency trading and trading in general. A lot of hedge fund managers have been moving out to Puerto Rico because of that one reason. So if you don't know, Puerto Rico's taxing corporate taxes at 4%, and then zero capital gains tax and zero short-term capital gains tax, and that's significantly lower than what you'll traditionally get taxed in the US, where right now we're at like 39.6% if you're at the highest tax bracket for corporate tax, and then like what 15.6% if you're doing short-term capital. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So I've definitely looked into that. Let's see here. MKTT says, from Holland. Good to have you. From Holland. Wow. Sebastian says, can you put address in Puerto Rico and stay most of your time in California? No. You have to be there for at least 180-something days, at least half the year. So you have to meet that requirement. So you have to live there legitimately. And there are other requirements. Like you have to donate $5,000 a year just to be eligible to some charitable cause in Puerto Rico and things of that nature. And Nan says, are you seeing this bounce? Yeah, I'm seeing this bounce. We went from 8,200 back to 8,400. We're right off that 50-day moving average. It makes sense, right? Traders know that 50-day moving average is a known support level for Bitcoin. So we're bouncing around for that 50-day moving average. We're forming this overall rounding bottom pattern. I'm expecting a breakout over the next couple of weeks. I don't see this as a big deal. I just see this as whales shorting Bitcoin, making their quick profits, but they're not going to be able to overtake the overall transition of this whole market and this revolution that's occurring as we see it. Sebastian says, Koreans are all talking about Upbit is not a big issue at all. Yeah, that was just FUD. Look at this. Remember, we talked about this tweet. It's all FUD. My source claims there's no issue. It's just regulators don't know what they're doing. They don't understand their own regulations. That's what's plaguing our industry here. Rebel Rager says it's going to continue to crash. Wall Street, Goldman Sachs chase all the big banks, want to get into cryptocurrency. NASDAQ, they're going to crash so they can buy all in. You heard it here first. Well, it's interesting you say that because mining becomes unprofitable right now. It takes about $8,600 to mine one Bitcoin. So for Bitcoin to be under 8,600 right now, it's unprofitable to mine Bitcoin. And typically, these mining levels have acted as support over time because understand if it's not feasible to mine Bitcoin, then why would these miners continue to mine it? Well, obviously the speculative investment over time, but at the same time, typically you'll see it find support along these type of levels. So hopefully this is the bottom. I mean, we're seeing a pretty significant jump. Look at this, it's already at 8,500 from 8,200. I mean, that was a pretty significant jump right here. This could be the bottom. So that would be extremely bullish. And not only that, that would be right along that 50-day moving average, which is a known support level for Bitcoin. Mr. 420 says, upped my altcoin positions today around 8,200 BTC. That is awesome, man. High five. Good job. Let's see here. Bread Effley says, with EOS and TRX's main launch happening in a month, why would buying the hype happen so early? Because people already expected it to happen. So we might see a minor sell-off before further price levels. But I'm very bullish on EOS. I think EOS, regardless of where you buy in at, I think it's a great project. I think it's going to see itself as a number 3 coin sometime soon. So what up, Timothy? Good to have you. Do you have any stop losses on all your coins? It depends what portfolio you're talking about. If you're talking about my long-term portfolio, I hold those coins. But if you're talking about my swing trading portfolios, I am completely out of the market right now. Potentially going to get in fairly soon, just depending on how we find support here and how we close on this candle on the 1 day. You know, I'm really going to do some doji analysis here just to analyze the fact that, you know, knowing how Bitcoin acts when it finds a bottom. If you look at this previous drop here, which was extremely similar to what we're seeing now, where we went below the EMA for a short period of time before seeing a huge exponential increase. If you don't know what the EMA is, it's the moving average exponential, which is right over here. I'll actually make it white so that you have a better idea of how to see it. So this moving average exponential, so previously, if you see this previous run up before we saw the big bull run, we were above the EMA, bouncing on the EMA for quite some time. Actually, it's right over here. That was another period, but this was the one I'm talking about. We were bouncing on top of the EMA, dropped below, found support on that 100-day moving average, and then you see this large candlestick indicated the bottom, and then that initiated the uptrend. So same thing we're seeing here. Very similar trend, right? Above the EMA, jumping on the EMA, below the EMA, finding support along moving average. Depends on how significant of an increase we're going to see in price there for me to determine whether or not this is going to be the bottom. So with that being said, make sure to snipe that like button. I don't want to stay up too long. It is 3:06 a.m. here. I wanted to just get this live stream out because I saw us approaching the 50-day moving average, and I just wanted to make sure I gave you guys a quick update. But I have to get some sleep, and I am going to set up some orders fairly soon here, just in case we surpass like 8,600, because I think that would be a very bullish sign. And I appreciate all of you watching this live stream. And with that being said, until our next one, we'll be live early tomorrow, and I can't wait to see where Bitcoin is at that point. So thank you all for watching, and like always, snipers out.